Hello, I'm Christopher Beck, and I'm here interviewing Doug Skelton, also my grandfather. He's a former veteran, but what rank did he serve at?
The United States Marine Corps.
So what exactly did you do in the Marines?
I was 2nd Recon Battalion, which was kind of the special forces of the Marine Corps.
What time period did you do this during?
This was during the Vietnam War.
Where did you serve during this time?
Well, I served on an aircraft carrier called the USS Oriskany, and in the South China Sea, and I also served at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
So you were kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I didn't go into combat because of I had a medical condition. I had perforated ulcers.
Yeah, I know you said your medical condition stopped you from going into combat, but actually being in the Marines, did that have any other mental and physical effects on your body, and what were they?
Yeah, being a Marine was a tough job.
I would imagine so.
And I also had sniper training, so that was kind of tough mentally, knowing that you might be sent into combat to go out and kill people,
Yeah.
just hunt them down. And
I imagine the stress of actually having to go and fight people and being let out on missions where you'd have to possibly injure or worse, kill people was very stressful. If you could go back to when you were a kid, well, first off, why did you want to enlist?
When I was a kid, I loved World War II movies, and like the John Wayne movies, and especially the ones about the Marines. I always wanted to be a Marine. My uncle was a Marine, and he was killed on Iwo Jima in World War II.
Wow.
And I was kind of his namesake. I was named after him. So.
But if you could go back in time to when you were a kid, would you choose to enlist in the Marines?
Yes. That was my dream, to become a Marine.
Well, thank you for your time and thank you for your service. Have a great day.
Thank you, Christopher. Thank you for your interview, and thank you for appreciating
Yeah, you're welcome.
veterans.
Thank you for joining me today on this interview, and I would like to ask you a few questions. So the first question is, how many years did you serve in the military?
I served 20 years in the military, in the United States Marine Corps.
Okay, thank you. And another question would be, how was training, and how did it shape you as a person now?
So how was training? Okay, basic training. My basic training was 15 weeks. It shaped me as a person to be more disciplined, to be more respectful, and to really appreciate the country I live in. It still has a lasting effect on me now, because I can still remember going to basic training. I don't remember each week, but I remember the time that I spent there. It was challenging.
Another question would be, what places did you visit during your time in the military?
Well, basic training was in Parris Island, South Carolina. From there, I went to school in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And from there, I went to California. I've been to California. I've been to Virginia, I've been overseas. I've been Okinawa, Japan. I went to Seoul, Korea. I went to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. So I've been to a lot of places. That's only a few.
Wow.
I've been in Desert Storm, Desert Shield. So I've been to Afghanistan. I've been to Iraq. I've been to Kuwait. So I've been quite a few places.
Thank you. And the last question would be, what advice do you have to people that would like to join the military now?
One, it's not for everybody, and find a branch, a service that, fits you as a person. The Marine Corps is real physical, so that attracted me to it because I like being physically fit. So just find a branch, that you can blend into. Find a job skill that you like, and just stay with it. It's a nice career. Mm-hmm. It's a good benefit to serve your country, and I wish everybody could at least do 2 or 3 years to serve their country because they'll get a better appreciation out of life and out of what they're doing serving their country.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. That's the end of the interview.
Okay.
So today we're here with Miss Broaddus. She is going to answer some questions for us. How was your first deployment?
My first deployment, it was interesting. It was long. I deployed for 6 months and I went home for 2 weeks, came back. My name was on the roster again to leave for another 6 months. The first 6 months I was on what we call now female engagement team, also known as a Lioness program. But we really didn't have a name, so we were referred to as the ECP team, entry checkpoint. The city of Fallujah and Al-Assad and a couple of others had already been bombed, after 9/11.
Okay.
So we were pretty much letting pretty much everyone that lived there, we were letting them back into the city to go back into their homes. And by doing so, we had to make sure no one was carrying any contraband or anything back into the city. And I was at Fallujah. So
when they put your name back on the roster, were you scared? Did you want to go back? Did you want to deploy out again? Or were you just kind of...
I was scared because the first time after I had came home on leave, the first time one of my ECP teams had been involved in a suicide bombing. I lost 5 friends that day. So it was a bit unnerving to know my name was on the list to go back over, but what can you do,
Okay, and so what were your thoughts going into the the Marine Corps?
I didn't really have, it was like a last moment kind of thing. I didn't, I know a lot of people say they planned, they always had dreams of becoming a Marine. One of mine, I did do ROTC in high school for 3 years, and one of my instructors was a Master Gunner Sergeant Barry Jenkins.
What did your family think?
I just didn't tell him. I didn't tell anyone. It was kind of like, I left. I remember going to see my recruiter. I honestly was talking to a Navy recruiter at first, and then I kind of switched gears real quick, and I don't know, I just switched gears. My mom said something to me that stuck with me throughout the years. She always used to say, if you're going to do something, do it right.
I'm Kay Lewis, and I'm interviewing my uncle Miles Sanders, who served the Air Force in the Vietnam War. I have some questions for you today. What motivated you to be in the military?
Serving my country and travel.
Where were you serviced at most of the time serving?
Where was I stationed at?
Yes.
First, the place I was stationed was Okinawa for a year and a half. And then Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona. Then I went to Germany for 3 years. From there, I went to Vietnam, but I had to make stops in Alaska, Philippines, and into Vietnam.
What was it like being in the Air Force?
It was a lot of fun, a lot of work. You did some things you didn't want to do, but you had to do it. But other than that, it was well worth the 10 years I put in.
Did you meet any special people while being in the military?
Yeah, I went to Saigon from Da Nang. I was at base in Da Nang, and I had to go to Saigon for some extra duty. And on the way there, I flew in the president of Vietnam's plane and back in his plane. And when it was getting ready to land back in Da Nang, they had to break off the approach because the rockets were coming in.
All right, well, thank you for your service, and I enjoyed interviewing you today.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Hello everyone, my name is Abel, and this is my Veterans Day interview. So today, I'll be interviewing my grandma, so let's go ahead and start off with the first question. The first question is, how long were you in the military for?
I was in the military for approximately 6 years. During my tour of duty in the United States Army, I was stationed at Fort Hood, Texas, Misawa, Japan, and I completed basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, along with AIT. And I was an aviation supply clerk, and I was assigned to 227 Aviation Battalion, Fort Hood, Texas.
The second question is, what did you do in the military?
During my time in the military, when I was assigned to the Aviation Battalion, my job was to order aircraft parts that consisted things that was needed for the helicopter and what they considered, what they would call swing loading. And that was when they would load and attach things to the helicopter to transport to other areas.
How was the food there? Was it good or was it bad?
The food was not the greatest, but sometimes it was very edible. Breakfast was the best meal. And what I liked about breakfast was you got to choose pretty much how you wanted your eggs, or whether you wanted French toast, but things of that nature. And the best breakfast I think that I liked was whenever they were serving hash browns along with the bacon and the biscuits, of course.
What was your favorite memory in the military?
Some of my favorite memories consisted of the traveling, because I got to see different places, different things, and meet different people. My favorite assignment, I think, was Misawa, Japan, where I loved the food, the ordering of food, and I loved the shopping.
Well, thank you for taking your time out of your day to help me with this interview. And that's it.
Good morning, I'm Kaden Davis, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing former U.S. Army soldier Al Davis. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure's mine.
So what rank did you go in the Army?
I went as an E3, as a private first class.
How many years did you serve?
I served 4 years active duty and then 6 years individual ready reserve.
Was it hard?
No, it was pretty comforting actually.
Where did you go for advanced individual training?
I went to advanced individual training at Aberdeen Proving Grounds in Maryland.
Did you have family who was in the Army?
Absolutely. My whole family. My grandfather was in World War I. My father was in World War II in the Korean War. My brothers Joe and Herman. Herman was in the Marines and Joe was in the Army.
And what were the benefits of joining the Army?
Giving a good sense of directions of where you want to go and what you want to be. It gives you a self of discipline. It also gives you an avenue of finance when it comes to education and housing after you leave the military. And more importantly, you become part of the military family forever.
And if you were to give an aspiring soldier or anyone advice, what would you give them?
Don't do it! Don't do it! No, I would say it's a wonderful place to go. It's a great starting point that will last you a lifetime.
It was a pleasure interviewing you.
The pleasure was all mine.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marjani. I am in 8th grade, and so I'll be interviewing someone that's protecting and serve our country, also known as a veteran. Let's go meet him.
Yes, I'm Barry Reid. I served in the United States Navy for 6 years.
How old were you when you joined the military, and what age did you leave the military?
I was 20 years old when I joined the military, and I was 27 years old when I left the military.
What division were you in, and why did you pick that division?
The division I was in was it was a cryptologic division. It was a secret division, which I still cannot talk about right now. But I think that was probably the best at the time that I went for.
What was your career in the military like?
Oh, my career was wonderful. I got opportunities to see a lot of the other country. I lived in Okinawa, Japan for 2.5 years. I lived in Charleston, South Carolina for about 1.5 years. I stayed in Pensacola, Florida, maybe a year. But military was wonderful for me.
How did the military impact your life, and would you suggest to people to join the military?
The military impacted my life a lot. Mainly humanity. I got an opportunity to see how other people lived in other countries. I got an opportunity to see how something was better in life and how something was not as better in life. I would recommend anyone who maybe not going to the college or going to a trade school to try the military. I wouldn't say one particular branch because each branch is different. But going to the military, it's very challenging a little bit, but it shows you a lot, grows you a lot, and give you an opportunity to see the country.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Berry. I enjoyed speaking with you.
Hello, I am Michael Montgomery, and today I will be interviewing my grandfather and asking him questions about being in the military. So the first question is, what was the best part about being in the military?
Your question is cutting out. I didn't get the question.
What was the best part about being in the military?
The best part that I can really think about is being in the military, hoping that it will make a better opportunity and a better life for my family, as well as the ones that went before me and paid the ultimate sacrifice, hoping that one day it could, by me being in there, it would help their family and ease some of their pain.
All right, thank you for that answer. The next question is, what was the scariest part about being in the military?
The scariest part was when I got the phone call 2 o'clock in the morning that we was on alert and that we had to come in. We was ready for deployment, not knowing where we was going, not knowing how long we was going, and not really knowing when we was going. But we was ready to go. Didn't know what to tell my family because at that time there was nothing that I could tell them. There was no way that I could prepare them for my deployment because I never knew was I gonna come back from that deployment. That was the most scariest part. Even though I went in knowing that one day that could happen.
All right, thank you for the answer. And the last question is, what was your favorite part about being in the military?
My favorite part about being in the military was being able to take my family with me and not leave them behind and missing them the way that I would have and other soldiers that was beside me that had to leave their families, and I saw some of the burdens that was added to them. Even though being in the military, I didn't have to endure with that. So that was one of the most favorite times for me.
All right, thank you for coming here and letting me interview you. I really appreciate your time.
You are most welcome. You can interview me at any time.
Alright, thank you.
My name is Christian Baldoff. I'm interviewing Steve Boda, an Army veteran. So, the first question is, why did you join?
Well, first off, Christian, thank you for having me on your program. And I didn't join. The government invited me to join.
Oh, okay.
So, in other words, in 1967, they had what they called the draft. And they said, your friends and neighbors have chosen you to go and be in Southeast Asia.
Huh. Okay. So, which war did you serve in?
Vietnam.
Vietnam? Okay. And how long did you stay, or how did you stay in touch with your family?
Well, back then we didn't have internet, we didn't have cell phones, so what we did is we actually wrote letters.
Oh, so...
It was all handwritten letters, yes.
So you just sent them back and forth?
Yes.
Okay.
The U.S. Postal Service was in charge of that, but they called that the APO, which was the Army Postal Office.
Okay.
The APO had a number, like 30290, but no one knew where that was at.
Well, how did your service experience affect your life?
That's a very good question. It affected me seriously because they sent me to places I never thought I would go. They asked me to do things I never thought I would do. And I came away with that much older than I would have thought I was going to be at 23 years old.
Well, thank you for your time, and thank you for your service, and it was great interviewing you and talking with you, and yeah, that concludes the interview.
Well, thank you very much for calling me and finding that my time was valuable. Have a very nice evening.
You too.
George, this is Alden Gold. I'm your dad's fraternity brother. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, George. Good. So I guess I'll just let you ask the questions and we'll go from there.
Okay. So how many years were you in the military?
9 years.
Okay. What was your job in the military?
I served 9 years in the United States Marine Corps, and I was a helicopter pilot and flight instructor. My collateral duty was as an administrative and legal officer, and an IT officer for network systems.
Well, how did you enjoy being in the military?
Oh, it was probably the best time of my life. I enjoyed what I did. I enjoyed being part of the organization, and I enjoyed the discipline and the skills that it taught me.
And the final question, do you recommend joining the military?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do recommend the military. I do. I mean, it's not for everyone, but I do think that it is a good experience even for a short period of time because there's a lot of worldwide exposure. There's a lot of training. You get a chance to interact with different people, and I think it tests you to your limits as an individual. Again, it's not for everyone, but I do think it's a great experience for anyone who would be interested.
Thank you for doing the interview. I had a good time talking to you.
All right, George. All right, George.
Hi, my name is Gabby Racinos, and I'll be interviewing a General Ray Davis veteran of the United States. He was involved in a number of actions. Can we hear more about it?
Good morning. I am retired Major Tim Bullhaver. Y'all see me around the school a lot this year, and they have several. But to let you know about a few things that I've been involved in, right after September the 11th, I went to a small country in South America called Suriname, and I worked with their military and out of the U.S. Embassy for about 5 months. And finally, the thing that most students here that know me know about me is that I've spent 3 years fighting in Iraq. I did the first year of that was civil affairs, which falls under special operations, and I helped actually make their political system, amongst a lot of other things. And the other 2 years, quite bluntly, I worked with between the Army and the press.
Well, my very first question is, what specific job did you have?
Well, I started out fixing telephone systems way back as a private in 1981. I know that sounds like forever ago to y'all. I was 17 years old. Then I went on to be in a military band, so those of you that have seen me in band and orchestra and around chorus and theater and all that, I was actually in a military band, and then later on I commanded that band. I've done personnel work, I've done, as I mentioned, helping structure a country's political aspect. I've worked with medical folks. I've done many things.
Well, my next question is that, did you enjoy going all over the world, or was it hard for you?
I enjoy it. One thing that a lot of people know about me is I like food. And one thing about each country is it has different food, even if it's like Latin culture or something like that. Suriname's food is different from Panama's food, which is different from Costa Rican food, which is different from Mexican food, etc. and so forth. Getting to know cultures is a big thing for me. I really enjoy getting to know people. I'm not one of these people that goes on vacation and just goes to the fancy sites and says, look at me, I'm here. I like to go where I'm actually working with people of whatever country I'm in. And I find it very enjoyable, sometimes challenging.
The final question is, what advice would you give to younger students?
Okay. One thing, we live in a free country, relatively free anyway. We need to guard the freedoms, we need to protect against people who are trying to take those freedoms from us. I've been in 14 countries, I've been where there's big government and a lot of people that try to tell you every action what to do. That's not the way to go, guys. It's much better to be able to make your own decisions. And as I heard somebody say, you can vote in Marxism, but you have to shoot your way out. And it is my hope that we will hold on to the freedoms that we've got so that people don't, and it's bad enough to go to war in a foreign country. It would be even worse to have one here.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Mr. O, I enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you.
George, this is Alden Gold. I'm your dad's fraternity brother. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, George. Good. So I guess I'll just let you ask the questions, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So, how many years were you in the military?
9 years.
Okay. What was your job in the military?
I served 9 years in the United States Marine Corps, and I was a helicopter pilot and flight instructor. My collateral duty was as an administrative and legal officer, and an IT officer for network systems.
Well, how did you enjoy being in the military?
Oh, this is probably the best time of my life. I enjoyed what I did. I enjoyed being part of the organization, and I enjoyed the discipline and the skills that it taught me.
And the final question, do you recommend joining the military?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do recommend the military. I do. I mean, it's not for everyone, but I do think that it is a good experience even for a short period of time because there's a lot of worldwide exposure. There's a lot of training. You get a chance to interact with different people, and I think it tests you to your limits as an individual. Again, it's not for everyone, but I do think it's a great experience for anyone who would be interested.
Thank you for doing the interview. I had a good time talking to you.
All right, George. All right, George.